Okay, so for our first card, this is Virgo Sun, Virgo Moons, and Virgo Risings. We have the Page of Coins, so this is a very good way to start off. So the Page of Coins, this is about us receiving messages, and these messages are positive. These can be messages like, you got the job, you got approved for your loan, you got approved for a college grant. They would definitely be positive messages around finances, money, things of that nature, or higher education. For some of you, you could be dealing with a child. That could be what's most important to you right now for some of you. But I'm feeling for most of you, this is generally about receiving those good positive messages about finances and or higher education. For some of you, especially with a young child, this teenager, I should say, some of you could be seeing your child graduate. So, that's going to resonate with just a few of you, so I had to say it. But again, for the rest of us, I feel that this is mostly about us receiving positive messages in regards to jobs, finance, money matters, loans, grants, things of that nature. Okay, so it is clarified by the devil in the reverse. So thankfully, the devil is in the reverse. So this would definitely indicate that you guys have broken those shackles, those illusions. Because as we see, there's a man in that cage there. But the door is just wide open, but he just keeps his head down like he's stuck. But he's not stuck. And you guys now know you're not stuck. So the devil card is always about us dealing with things like fear, obsessions, addictions. This is also covering karmic toxic relationships. And these relationships can be romantic or platonic. So, some of you could have been dealing with toxic karmic relationships with friends or family members, or even with a lover, or, a spouse in general. But I'm liking the fact that this shows up in the first position, indicating the Virgo energy. So you guys have definitely thrown off these shackles, these illusions. You're not being controlled by the fear. You're not obsessing about things. We're not allowing the addictions to rule our life. So essentially, we have taken back control of our own life, and we're not allowing fear to be behind the steering wheel, so to speak. We're in control. So this is very good energy to start off with. And this is ruled by Capricorn. So for some of you, you might have Capricorn in your chart. And speaking of illusions and breaking free of them, every reading that I have done up until this reading, the hanging man has come out in every single one except for this one. And I thought, that's kind of odd. But then again, it's not. Because Neptune, is currently in Pisces, but Neptune naturally rules Pisces, and Pisces is our opposite sign. So I've basically told everybody, because it's come up in everybody's readings except for ours. And I feel that the reason it hasn't come up in ours is because Pisces is our opposite energy. So we already deal with these similar type of things. So Neptune is currently retrograde. We have 6 planets in retrograde. So some people are feeling a bit off. And you just can't quite pinpoint exactly what it is. And it could be due to the planetary configuration with all 6 planets in retrograde. This is a lot, you know. So with Neptune being in retrograde, essentially what is happening is the veil that is over most people's eyes is literally getting snatched off by Neptune. And we are able to see certain people, certain situations for exactly as they are. So if any of us have been living through any illusions, you know, if we've been in relationships or, you know, certain situations where we've been fooled by illusions, you know, under this type of energy, the veil gets snatched away from our eyes, and we get to truly see these people in these certain situations for what they really, really are. So I feel that a lot of Virgos, we already know we can't be fooled by the illusion, although some of us are, and some of us will go through this. So, I mean, and especially in regards to if you might be feeling a little off and you can't pinpoint it, if you guys do not have your natal chart, you can always go to astro.com, and you can get a free natal chart done on this website for free. And that will show you how many of your planets are actually in retrograde at the time of your birth. So that can be very informative. If you have a lot of planets that are naturally retrograde, then this is not bothering you at all. If you don't have very many planets retrograde, then yeah, this will bother you. And it's just kind of like something's off and you can't pinpoint it. And it's in the planets. Like the only planet I have in retrograde in my chart is Neptune. So I naturally have that. So this energy is nothing new for me because I'm always snatching the veil off of people's eyes. Not everybody's a fan of it either. So, but you know, sometimes it's just got to happen. So, okay, so this would be the circumstances. So we have the Queen of Cups. So the Queen of Cups, she is a very intuitive woman. She tends to rely more on her intuition rather than her logic and intellect. She wants to know what's going on at a deeper emotional level. She wants to see underneath it all. She wants to know the why for everything. Now, the Queen of Cups, she's definitely very sensitive. You know, she's the good wife, the good mother, all of that. She's also very concerned with the welfare of others. Sometimes we can see her in careers like being a caretaker, a nurse, you know, even the CNAs, nursing assistants, you know, home care workers, and even like artists and writers. So I feel that this card kind of does vibe a little bit here with Virgo, because Virgo is a very service-oriented sign. And some of us that have a lot of Virgo, we tend to feel that serve or suffer. You know, it's like we have to be of service to people, or it's like we're suffering. Now, you know, that can sound pretty dramatic, but, you know, it kind of depends on how much Virgo you got. Sometimes it can feel a bit like a blessing and a bit like a curse, but, you know, really, it's really a blessing. It's just we have to serve. But anyhow. So, yeah, this definitely resonates with Virgo. Now, it's very odd because we have the Queen of Cups and the King of Cups comes out right afterwards. So typically anytime this pops up in a reading, this makes me think married couple. So for some of you that are married, this reading might resonate a bit more. And then for some of you, this could be about, certain people that are in your life. Maybe this could be about a married couple that's in your life. Or maybe you're just dealing with the overall energy. But I'm feeling that for some of you who are married, this is definitely pointing towards you guys specifically. But okay, so that was the Queen of Cups. Oh, this is nice. So it is clarified by the Ace of Coins. So this is us being given a new financial start, a new financial direction. Sometimes this can be us getting a new job. So perhaps it could be one of the jobs I spoke of, but Virgos are definitely in just about every line of work. So they don't have to be necessarily within that realm, but they can be for some of you. But this could be a financial opportunity as well. Sometimes this can be about receiving some extra income. But I always like to warn when I see this card, that even if you do get some extra money that comes in, you should be very careful. Try to not overextend yourself. Budget friendly. And for those, for some of you, this could be about starting a new financial project. This could be about perhaps maybe investing. This could be about many different things on the financial end of things, but I just want to make sure that you guys take things into consideration. Do be careful. You don't want to overextend yourself financially. So you always want to give yourself some financial planning room, when you start new things, new projects, or new investments. You want to make sure you have some extra money in case some unexpected things pop up. So I'm just giving this advice in advance so that we don't have to worry about this Ace of Coins going to the reverse. So if we're careful and cautious with our money and we don't overextend ourselves, we're going to be okay. But this definitely would indicate a new opportunity in regards to finances coming our way. Okay, so this would be the focus of the reading, and we have the King of Cups. So the King of Cups, he is a very emotional man, but you would never guess this by looking at him. He keeps those emotions restrained. He has a very controlled emotional reaction. So I always say he's got a very good poker face. So you would never be able to really see the emotion on his face. But yet there's a very emotional nature behind that controlled surface. He just doesn't necessarily allow everyone to see it. Now, this person can be very good as a counselor. For some of you, this could be about, going and seeking counseling for some of you. Some of you could be channeling this King's energy. Some of you could be dealing with somebody like this. It could be male or female. It doesn't have to be male just because we see King. This can be male or female. Now, this person would be very good at counseling, very good at dealing with people's emotions, especially the really heavy, sticky emotions. The King of Cups, he's very good at dealing with people and these really rocky emotions, and he does it with great compassion. So he's really good at counseling. He's also a teacher. Above all, he wants to do humanitarian type of work. You know, he really wants to help. And, you know, sometimes we can find him interested or in careers like, you know, art, music, anything that's got to do with the ocean, fishing, nature, the home, the environment, things of that nature. But most of all, this is about sharing the feelings and the sensitivity and understanding them fully. So, on the surface, we could say this is a man that is very emotional and compassionate, but yet his emotion is controlled and restrained. So, for some of you, this could be saying you might be a bit emotional, but, you know, just do what comes natural to Virgo and control the emotion so that it doesn't openly come through in our facial expressions. So, okay, yeah, and this explains it. Okay, so it's clarified by the Page of Cups in reverse. So anytime I see the Page of Cups in reverse, this tells me that things are getting very, very frustrating. It's like you want things to move along, but it's like things are just at a standstill. Like it seems like there's nothing going on. It's like there's no activity taking place. And this is really frustrating, almost maddening for some of us. And it's like we have such a deep need to talk about it, but yet for most we'll just kind of withdraw, kind of like the hermit, you know. We'll just kind of withdraw into ourselves. You know, this can be where we become kind of moody. But, you know, if you really are going through those very, very intense, deep emotions, this could be saying, you know, maybe you might want to talk to someone that you trust, that seems to be like a good counselor, a good advisor. For some of you, this could be about reaching out and getting some professional counseling. For some of you, this, you know, whatever works for you, but there is definitely a need to talk about what is going on, what you're going through. It can be very upsetting, but we don't want to completely detach ourselves and become super moody and malcontent, you know. Trust me, anytime we experience these delays and things that are coming to a standstill, they're very frustrating, but trust me, these delays happen for a good reason. We can't always see it in the moment. All we see is nothing happening, and it just it doesn't feel good. But trust me, there's always a reason for it, even though we can't see it. Now, for some of you, this could be saying, okay, so you could be going through this secretly, but in the outward world, you might be coming across like the King of Cups, like you're cool, you're calm, you're collected, but really there's a lot of emotions brewing beneath the surface. And there's really a need to talk about things. Because you might be surprised, sometimes just simply talking about these things, being able to vent them, you know, to someone that you can trust, can actually take a lot of weight off of your shoulders. And sometimes the person that's doing the listening can actually give us some good advice. Okay, so this would be your recent past. So we have the Death card in the reverse position. So this would definitely indicate that there was some sort of change that took place. There's a situation in which needed to be left behind. But for some, it's like you're trying to hang on to something that is no longer working for you, no longer working for many people, for some of you. It's like we're trying to hang on to something that doesn't belong to us. Or we're trying to hang on to a situation that is, it wasn't any good for us. Now, this is only going to resonate with just a very small handful of you guys. But this could be indicating that potentially you might have experienced losing someone through passing, and perhaps they passed in an unconventional way. And this is in your recent past. So when I say in an unconventional way, I mean then this person did not die of natural causes, okay? Something is off about it. Like, for instance, typically I try to keep myself out of it, but here we go. I can actually resonate with this particular position in these cards right here. But the way I'm resonating with them is because I have actually had to deal with two people who have gotten murdered. We could say in about a month's time. Actually, it's about 2.5 weeks in between. Maybe 3. Close to a month. I'm thinking closer to 3. And both people were murdered. And that's why I say in an unconventional way. Now, that's not going to resonate with most of you, but it's going to resonate with a handful of you. So I had to mention it because even I am resonating with this particular position and set of cards. So, yeah. Now, for the rest of you, perhaps there was an unconventional, non-traditional type of situation, or maybe even a relationship for some of you, that maybe you've been hanging on to, or you were hanging on to it. But when we see the Death card in the reverse, this is letting us know we have to deal with this. We have to face the music. We have to see the writing on the wall. This is a change that has to happen, that is inevitable. Because more times than not, when we see the Death card, literally 95% of the time, it's indicating major changes and transitions in our life. So, this could be like us moving. Like, we know we need to move, but we don't want to. We keep resisting it. That's just one little example, but that's kind of where I'm going with this. Is it's about ending one phase of our life and going in another direction. Some things need to be done. Some people need to be removed out of our life. For instance, certain relationships. Maybe for some of you this was an unconventional relationship. Maybe this relationship ultimately was not serving you in your personal growth and development in the long run. Maybe it was blocking it. And so this is where we may need to face those facts and just move forward. Allow it to happen. Now, the Faith card in reverse, this is also about rebelling. Sometimes we just want to rebel. We just want to rock the boat. We want to buck the system, so to speak. So, yeah, this can be some restless energy. And it's like some of you could be resisting that change just because you feel like being a rebel, you know? And for some of you, I feel like you just might be lacking faith in regards to making this change and allowing the change to have happened. And for those of you who have lost someone through passing, my deepest condolences. Don't worry about me, I'm okay. So, I didn't say that for pity, I'm just saying that because I know that's going to resonate with a few of them, with a few of you guys. Because I know I'm not alone in that. Okay, so this would be the present energy, the here and the now. We have the star in the reverse position. What's wrong, Virgos? What's up? Wow. So, the star in reverse, this is where our faith is being tested. And this is the type of energy where we might be feeling hopeless. You know, maybe you are really looking forward, wanting to make something happen, come true. You know, could have been about a wish, could have been about a goal that you were going after, and maybe it seems like it's never going to happen. Maybe you're starting to feel hopeless. Maybe you've lost faith. Maybe you were once inspired, but now it's like that inspiration has left you. For some of you, this could be indicating that perhaps you might be dealing with some anxiety issues. Some of you could also be dealing with some depressive type issues. Now, this could either be you or this could be someone in your life that's very close to you that you're dealing with. So you'll know which side is, you know, for you. Now, this can also indicate that perhaps maybe you have some hidden skills or abilities. For some of you, you know about them. Maybe you just have ignored them, denied them, not nurtured them, not paid any attention to them. And for some of you, these could be some very creative abilities that could be hidden. So we definitely want to, if you know that you have some abilities that you just kind of brushed off and ignored, you don't want to ignore those anymore. This is now the time to bring those abilities out and start nurturing them and using them. Because, hey, you never know what they could do for you. Sometimes we tend to ignore certain abilities or talents because we think nobody will care about them or they're not going to be useful. You might think they may not be useful, but they could be useful to someone. So, but the thing is these abilities tend to always be creative. But most of all, this is a card about you cannot lose faith. Your faith is ultimately being tested here. So it's kind of like a sink or swim type of energy. Are you just going to give in and sink and become hopeless and depressed and anxious and anxiety ridden? Or are you going to swim and have faith and know that ultimately everything's going to work out? Sure, maybe things are not coming together the way that you want them to. Sure, you are dealing with things potentially being at a standstill. But don't allow this to cause you to lose hope or faith, okay? Because if we lose hope and faith, then where else can we go from there? We don't want to be stuck in an attitude of lack and I don't have this isn't working out, things aren't going my way, this isn't working out, this isn't working out, this isn't working out. That's where we're all going wrong. We cannot be in that frame of mind, because the more that we are thinking like that and we're focused on what we're lacking and what we don't have and what's not coming together for us, the more that we focus our energy on that, the more that we attract more of those very same type of situations to us. We don't want to attract any more of that energy to us. So we really need to shift our frame of mind and our thoughts, okay? If you catch yourself having those negative thoughts, start thinking about the things in your life for which you should feel grateful for. Try to focus on things that you are grateful for, no matter how big or small. Because I tell you, one positive thought is 10 times stronger than a negative thought, okay? And when we get to feeling super negative and feeling nothing but lack, we really need to try to think about the positive. You know, sometimes it can be some small blessings, but hey, no matter how big or small, we all have blessings in our life, you know? No matter what we're going through, there's always some blessings to feel grateful for. And a lot of times these blessings are things that people tend to take for granted. You know, as simple as, you know, are you eating tonight? That's a blessing. Are you going to have a bed to sleep in tonight? That's a blessing. Are you watching my reading? Well, you have the internet access. Lucky you. That's a blessing, you know? So these are just, you know, a couple examples, but these are things that we tend to take for granted in day-to-day life because they're just there. And we don't really realize the importance of them until they're taken away. So the moment that we start becoming grateful and focusing on what we do have and what we're not lacking, then we're going to start attracting more positive things to us, and we won't be feeling that lack. Okay, sorry. I'm going to get off my soapbox. But, you know, I just don't want my Virgos out here being all depressed and feeling hopeless. This doesn't work for me, you guys. We got to cheer up. Come on. Smile. Things are going to get better. You know, we can't stay miserable forever. The world needs Virgos. It's just that simple. We can't be walking around depressed. We can't be feeling hopeless. There's no need to feel hopeless, okay? I mean, I get it. I know. But trust me, the more that we focus on the good things, the more that these delays and these standstills will come to an end. Okay, so this is clarified by the Two of Cups. So this definitely would tell me that this is definitely about a relationship of some sorts. It could be a romantic relationship. It could be a platonic friendship. It could even be a business partnership. You know, but this would be about a relationship with someone which you have a very special connection to. Now, anytime I see the Two of Cups in reverse, this tells me that the relationship is out of balance. And it's like the communication is not happening. And we really, really need to communicate. Because when the Two of Cups is reversed, this is when the balance is no longer there. So we're out of balance. Or this particular relationship, I should say, is out of balance. And misunderstandings can really come up here. You know, and the problem can be solved, but it's all about communication, okay? You know, sometimes this is about, you know, maybe one of you is being super stubborn and not wanting to make the first move, you know. let's take the ego out of it. Do you want to salvage this relationship, this friendship, whatever it may be? Do you want to make it better? Do you want to bring the harmony back? Then make the first move. Be the bigger person. But communication, I cannot begin to stress the importance of communication here. Extremely, extremely important, especially if you want to fix this relationship. For some of you, you're not going to want to, and that's okay. But you got to do what's best for you at the end of the day. I always say that. We got our free will, and you got to do what you know is best for you. But I feel like that's where a lot of this hopelessness and anxiety is coming in from. Is from this particular relationship. And again, this can be a relationship that's romantic, or this can be a relationship that's not romantic, that's purely platonic. But it's about a relationship where the balance has been lost with someone, and the communication is not taking place, and somebody needs to stop being stubborn. So because ultimately we need to have the understanding. Sometimes this card comes up when someone's like come to that breaking point where they're just like, should I put any more of my time, my energy, my love, whatever into this? So like I said, some of you may, just be like, you know what, this is hopeless. This isn't working for me, so I'm done. And hey, for some of you, that absolutely needs to happen. And you'll know who you are. Okay? Now, for some of you, you may want to make this work, but if you truly want to make it work, you're going to have to be the one to reach out and open the lines of communication. Try to understand, try to see things from their point of view, and hopefully they will follow. And then, maybe we can come to a new perspective, a new awareness, and perhaps maybe be able to communicate and be in harmony with each other again. But like I said, some of you are going to be like, you know what, this situation is hopeless. I'm done. So that, it's really a personal choice and personal decision. Every Virgo, sun, moon, and rising is completely different. We're all on our own personal journey, so you must do what is best for you in your situation, and only you know what that is. I can't ever stress this enough, because free will, guys, and we're all different, Granted, I'm reading for Virgo, sun, moon, and rising, but we all have different situations, I'm just basically reading the overall Virgo energy for all of us that have Virgo energy, either on our sun, our moon, or our rising sign. Okay, moving along now. Okay, kind of odd because, this can be about wishes, hopes, all of that, inspiration, and how funny. Here we have the Nine of Cups, which is the wish card. So this is about us having a wish. And again, this is the near future position. So this would definitely indicate that there is a wish that we have that could very potentially come true. We could see it manifest, materialize, however you want to look at it. So this is very, very positive. This wish could be just about anything. This could be about a relationship. This could be about a job. This could be about, your own personal wishes for things that you want. Only you know what this, particular wish is for you. And again, it would it's going to vary greatly among each Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So, wow. Okay, so this is funny because I refer to both of these cards as wish cards. So this is our wish getting fulfilled, the Nine of Cups, okay? Because it's in the upright position. Now, anytime I see the Seven of Cups, this is like an emotional choices wish card. So it's like we are presented with so many different emotional choices that we have to choose from. Now, the only difference here is with the Seven of Cups, the emotional choices that we are presented with, some of them are illusions. Some of them, all that glitters is not gold. It may appear to be one thing, but it's really something else. Now, ultimately, we always want to choose spirit. When we choose spirit, we never go wrong. Then we're following our true path, But for some of us, sometimes we need to pick the wrong cup so that we can learn and move forward. Like some people might be like, hey, look at all those pretty jewels. I think I'd like to pick that cup of jewelry. But, you could pick it, then you could go home, and then you could start looking at the jewelry. The necklaces could start falling apart, and then you find out, well, these aren't even real gemstones. These are fakes. These are lab created. So many different things. So it's like it appears as one thing, but really it's something else, So, like, some people might be like, oh, look at those keys. What do they go to? Did they go to a new car? Did they go to a new home? Is it both? The keys might open an empty chest. It can appear as one thing because there's like glamour around these choices. There's illusion, so we want to go for the practical choice, so to speak, Follow your intuition in regards to making this emotional choice, okay? Because ultimately you got to pick what's best for you in your situation and your growth and development right now. And only you know what that's going to be. So, but it's kind of funny to get two wish cards all together here. And then the star deals with wishes too, but in the reverse, we feel like we're not getting what we want. Okay, so this would be the attitude position. So here we have the Chariot in the reverse position. Well, this is not the greatest energy for our attitude, Virgos. So, this is where we are definitely going after a particular goal that we set out to achieve. Sometimes we've put so much of our energy and our hard work into achieving this goal, and it may feel like it's never going to happen, or for some this can be more about wanting to make it happen but maybe not putting enough action behind it. We don't want to fall prey to wishful thinking. Now, this card can also be about enemies or adversaries getting the upper hand on us since it's in the reverse position. So we need to be careful of that. Sometimes this can be about, competing factors. And, sometimes this can simply be indicating that perhaps maybe the other person might be doing better than us in regards to accomplishing the goal. And maybe some of us are just, simply feeling exhausted, worn out, like, I don't know if I can continue. So quite frequently under this energy, sometimes we can feel exhausted mentally, physically, sometimes both. This is where our vitality and our stamina is just really, really low. And basically what happens here is, we really just need to take that break. We need to take some downtime so that we can find our balance again. And then you can really look at the situation as, is this a goal that I really want? Is this something that I'm truly passionate about? Is this something that is, going to fulfill me, make me happy at the end of the day? So these are definitely things to consider. Now, for some, this could definitely indicate that you might be dealing with issues in regards to your vehicle. Some of you could be experiencing some mechanical issues or, tire, suspension type of issues. This is the Chariot, so this is very straightforward. This is about our car. That's going to resonate with a few of you, so. But I think for most of you, this is just about our energy and our vitality, and our just stamina is just low in regards to accomplishing a goal. So typically I call this card victory through adversity, but when it's in the reverse, it's like the adversity is just so much stronger in the reverse position. Okay, so it's being clarified by the Knight of Cups in reverse. So typically the Knight of Cups brings us an offer, an invitation, a proposal. And anytime I see the Knight of Cups in reverse, this is definitely an invitation, a proposal, whatever it may be, that you need to definitely be careful of. I wouldn't jump straight into it. For some of you, in romance, relationships, things like that, this could definitely be indicating that you're going through some very turbulent times. Maybe the emotions are not being shared equally. Sometimes this can be about a fear of commitment, a fear, of getting involved. Sometimes this can be a fear of getting hurt. But ultimately, fear. And our emotions are being a bit overworked. So, yeah, we definitely don't want fear behind the steering wheel, guys. We don't want fear driving the car. Because that's not good. That's not going to turn out well. So, sometimes this can be indicating that perhaps maybe you may not be telling the whole entire truth about how you feel. Maybe in regards to a relationship. It can be a romantic relationship, or again, this can be, a platonic relationship. It doesn't always have to be romantic. It could just be a particular relationship. This could be a friendship. Maybe there was something offered by a friend, an invitation that was proposed. So this can play out many different ways. Okay, so this is how other people would see you. Sometimes this card can be about where we can get some clues about how certain people are looking at us. So sometimes you'll know exactly who's looking at you like that. So, and sometimes this can give us information about them and what they're going through. So, okay, this time. This is a very, very positive card. This card is ruled by Leo. So this card is very positive. I mean, this is about, you know, having that happiness, having that pleasure, you know, having success, and, you know, good marriage, good home, you know, absolutely positive all the way around. You know, the sun, optimism, you know, I mean, we're shining, you know. So this is definitely us having the freedom to move around. You know, for some of us, sometimes this can indicate, you know, like new job or career offers. You know, sometimes this can be about buying a new home, about getting married, whatever it may be. But overall, the sun is, it's a blessing card. Very, very positive. Okay, so it's clarified by the Nine of Swords, which is not so positive, guys. Oh, okay. Well, so the Nine of Swords, this is a card where we're definitely going through some depression, maybe even some sleepless nights. Some of us may even experience some nightmares. You know, this is definitely a card of despair, anxiety, a loss of hope, emotional distress. Sometimes this can be about legal issues. Sometimes this can also be about medical issues. And on occasion, this card can indicate surgery being needed. But, you know, if you don't know about any of those types of situations for you, then do not take that energy on as being yours. Maybe this is pointing towards someone that you know that could be going through this. Maybe someone you know needs to have surgery. And for some of you, it might be you. It could go either way. And to me, I'm getting the feeling that, you know, if it is surgery, it would probably be something to do with the back or the heart, since this is the sun, you know, Leo. So the back or the heart. You know, sometimes this can be a card that can indicate unfaithfulness in a relationship. Sometimes, not always. But this is definitely a card of going through a loss. Sometimes this can indicate losing a loved one. So again, if you have lost someone, my deepest condolences. Especially between these two positions, I'm really feeling like there are some Virgo sun, moon, risings that have lost some people. But, you know, this doesn't have to be about losing people. For some of you, you know, this is simply indicating that, you know, something has happened. There could be a loss of hope. There could be some depression and despair, maybe even some emotional distress. You know, it's like there's some sort of trauma or loss that has occurred. You know, sometimes this can be about relationships. Sometimes this can just be about us not being able to handle the stress of the situations that we're going through. And sometimes this might indicate that, you know, perhaps maybe depression and anxiety disorders might get the better of us temporarily. So if that resonates with you, I would definitely seek out some professional help. You should never try to battle depression or anxiety issues alone, okay? So please get the appropriate help if you're having those type of issues. But just know that things are going to get better. I mean, when we have the sun here, So, you know, this is very, very dark, okay? This is like night. Look at the moon. This is a card of night and nightmares. And then we have the sun. So it's like there's definitely a duality theme going on here from night and day. So it's almost like some of you are going through a situation with loss, but it's like at the same time, the sun is here to protect us and to make sure that whatever loss we go through, we're going to be put on the right path. We are going to find our success. We may not be able to see it in the dark of the night right now, but it's going to happen. The sun will come out tomorrow. And we will make it through this loss. No, I mean, we're going to make it. And we're going to be put on the right path. Wow, the duality theme there is just crazy. Okay, so this would be the hopes and fears position. So we have the Tower. So first and foremost, you know, these could be subconscious or conscious fears and or hopes. Okay. So with the Tower, this is like that unexpected rude awakening type of energy. It's like something happens unexpectedly and it breaks down a certain structure. So basically certain situations in our life, you know, maybe even a certain particular relationship, you know, it will break down the structure of something that is in our life. And it happens very suddenly and unexpectedly. So there's an element of shock with this particular card. Now this is a card that clears the karma, so to speak, and allows us to start over with a clean slate. So typically this happens to help us remove ourselves out of difficult situations in which we may feel stuck. So yeah. I mean, it doesn't always have to necessarily be something that happens that is negative. Sometimes this can be something positive. But, you know, it's all in perception, you know. Something that might be considered positive to one person could be completely negative to the next. So, some people feel like they're stuck in situations. And they feel like they need a little bit of help getting out. And this is definitely the type of energy that would help you remove yourself from a certain situation in which you're stuck. Okay, so then it's clarified by the Ten of Swords in reverse. So this is a karmic cleansing card as well. It is the completion of a karmic cycle. Now, this man's got 10 swords in his back, you know, looks pretty painful. So these, you know, can be situations in which we feel like we might have been stabbed in the back. You know, there can be deception. A lot of times, you know, this is where things can end. Sometimes relationships end, you know, whether they be romantic or platonic. You know, divorce can come up under this energy. Sometimes this can be about losing a job, you know. It can cover many different things. But with it being in the reverse position, this shows that we are healing and moving forward from this karmic situation. We learned from it and we are moving forward, and we now have a clean slate to start over brand new, essentially, to go in a new direction. So for some of you, you could be wishing and hoping for a situation to come to a close so that you can heal from it. Some of you may need assistance as far as being able to be removed from the situation. Sometimes people feel stuck. And for some of you, this could absolutely be fears. So, again, this could be hopes for someone, and to the next Virgo, this could be what they fear. Okay, so for the final outcome, we have the Ten of Cups in the reverse position. So the Ten of Cups, this is like our happily ever after, our contentment, especially our family and home happiness. Now, when it's in the reverse, we're feeling that lack thereof. So it's like there's definitely something missing, something's wrong within the home life, or maybe even with the marriage, or, there could be some issues with the children, or there could be issues with the actual home itself, the structure of the home. So you'll know where this fits for you, but in general, maybe some of you could be trying to get a home. Maybe things just keep hitting a wall as far as delays. Maybe some of you are trying to obtain a loan for a home. Maybe this is taking forever. Maybe things are not working out the way you want them to. Maybe it's just at a standstill. For some, this could be about experiencing some issues within the home where things could be breaking down, and typically these types of things are things that have to do with water. So we could say washing machines, dishwashers, plumbing pipes, anything that has a water, because water would definitely be the culprit, so to speak. Now, sometimes on occasion this can be indicating a act of God where we end up with a lot of flooding. So if that's what you're experiencing, I am so sorry. But there are definitely issues around water, potential flooding in the home. So this could be causing some issues. For some of you, you might be having a home built, and maybe this is taking a long time. And especially if you're having a home built, when I get this card, I'm definitely like, hey, you definitely need to have someone else look at, the progress and the blueprints and whatnot. We really need to pay attention to the structure, the bones of the house, because we want to make sure that everything is okay, because this card can pop up if something is wrong structurally as well. And so, yeah, for those who are building homes or perhaps remodeling your home, these are definitely issues we want to be on the lookout for. Now, this card is definitely about, experiencing some delays and potentially some difficult times, before, things get better, so to speak. So, patience is definitely very much needed here. Patience and understanding. Sometimes this can actually be about damage done to the home or the actual family. This could come from someone else. So sometimes vandalism can play into this as well. Sometimes this can be about a loss of reputation as well. Sometimes this can indicate that a potential wedding could be put off, delayed, postponed. Sometimes this can be about, the parents and children not seeing eye to eye with each other. Or this could be about you and your significant other not seeing eye to eye. So, you know, when it comes to those emotional matters in our home, there's definitely some sort of delays, some things that are definitely happening that are definitely causing more frustrations. You know, this could also indicate family disagreements as well. So it's kind of like, you know, that our family and marriage type of contentment, it's kind of like put on hold. It's delayed. You know, we're experiencing some sort of difficulties in regards to the family life, the marriage life, the relationship, you know, or potential issues within the actual home structure, or just, you know, family issues in general. So it actually covers quite a lot, and I always like to throw all these details out here because not every Virgo sun, moon, rising is going to, you know, resonate with just, you know, a basic watered down interpretation. So that's why I like to throw different options out there, because some might actually be dealing with the vandalized home, but, you know, outside of that, their family life could be great, you know. So that's why I throw the several different interpretations out there. So, okay, so it is clarified by the Seven of Wands. So the Seven of Wands is about stiff competition. Now, this can be stiff competition perhaps in the home life, you know, the personal life, the home life, or this could be in business, you know, and maybe you might be experiencing some tough times in regards to business and competition, and this, you know, maybe is coming back to the home life, kind of like bringing your work home with you. You know, so yeah. Maybe some of you are experiencing financial issues, so this is definitely causing the home life to be a little bit more upset and out of balance. But most of all, when I see this card, this is a card of having that inner strength and the stamina and the ability to stand your ground no matter what the circumstances are. This is a card of standing your ground. I mean, look at this man. He has his one wand, and he has 6 opposing wands coming at him. But does he look scared? He's like, no, I'm standing my ground. This is mine. This is my home. This is my family. This is my husband, my man, whatever, you know. This is mine. I'm going to defend and stand my ground. This is mine. Back off, you know. So there's definitely like a defensive type of stance mode taking place in this card. So some of you may be feeling a bit defensive in regards to the home life, the, you know, family, you know, well, all of that. So, but this card is a card of having that courage, okay? You have that courage to stand your ground, you know? And again, you know, this can be about stiff competition in business or even in personal issues. And sometimes with this card, there can be an element of feeling like something or someone is an enemy. But regardless, the message here is stand your ground, okay? Because things will get better. They will improve. But you must take a stand. You must stand your ground. Defend what is yours. Defend what you hold dear. Period. You got to be true to yourself. Protect. Have that courage. Even if you have a certain point to make in regards to the home life, stand your ground. Okay? Some of you may even be trying to compete for getting a particular home. Like maybe some of you are trying to buy a house, and maybe there's other people trying to buy the same house. So there could be like a bit of a bidding war. That's only going to resonate with it very few of you, but you know, that could actually be taking place. Some of you, this could be about, you know, damage done to the home. And then you have to stand your ground as far as making sure that, you know, it is dealt with and taken care of appropriately. But no matter what the issues are, stand your ground, Virgos. Okay? If you're right and you know you're right, beyond a shadow of a doubt, stand your ground. I don't really even have to tell you guys that, because if you're right, you're going to stick to it anyway. Okay, so bottom of the deck, we've got the Ten of Swords. This is not the greatest energy, guys. Again, this card's pretty graphic in this deck, so we can actually see blood. And yeah, looks pretty painful. So this can be pretty to the point where you may feel like you've been stabbed in the back by someone. Now, ultimately, this card is the, you know, the end of a cycle. It's like the karmic release. You know, the karmic cycle has been completed. Sometimes this can be about war, you know, strife, and those traumas that can just break us down sometimes. You know, some people could be going through a divorce, some could be quitting or getting fired from a job. But no matter what it is, it's a loss of some sort, okay? And it could be legal, it could be work, you know, it could even be a social type of situation, you know? Just let it happen. I mean, I know that's hard. That's hard to say, let alone it's very hard to hear, but you know, sometimes we just need to let this happen, because the more that we resist, this is where we can attract more opposition. And then this is where we can actually end up in some pretty sticky situations, you know, that could lead to even more misfortune. So, you know, it's just kind of one of those cards where we just got to kind of surrender and, you know, let the situation go, you know. Some things we're just not meant to hang on to. It is a 10, so it's a cycle of completion. So there's really no more to learn from this situation. You've learned what you can from this particular situation, and now you're going to move forward with that clean slate. You know, for some, this could be about changing your lifestyle, too. Okay, so it is clarified by the Six of Cups. So, this could be about our siblings, this could be about cousins, family members, this can be about friends that we've had since we were, you know, young children or teenagers, whatever it may be. The Six of Cups is always someone that has ties to our past. Now, for some of you, perhaps this ending is occurring with someone that has ties to your past. For some of you, this is about, certain friends. Maybe a relationship ends. Maybe this could be about being at odds with a sibling, and unfortunately, those things come to an end and we just kind of part ways. Not seeing eye to eye, Sometimes this can be about a lover, especially if a lover has ties to your past. Maybe some of you could be ending a relationship with someone from your past. Maybe some of you could be actually going through a divorce with someone that you've been with for a long time. Maybe some of you are with your high school sweethearts or whatever, and things have come to an end. Now, that's one way of putting it. Now, another way to put this, and you'll know which way resonates with you. So another way to put this is perhaps we go through this ending, and then someone that has ties to our past reaches out and gives us an opportunity of sorts. They want to help. So either this is an ending with someone that has ties to your past, or this is you go through this karmic ending, and then someone from your past or has ties to your past reaches out and presents you with an opportunity. And most of the time they just really want to be able to help you with you and your situation. This is also a card of nostalgia where we're looking back on good memories in our past as well. But the opportunity can come from someone in the past. So again, either the ending is with someone that has ties to your past, or we go through the ending and then we are offered an opportunity through someone that we have ties to in our past, or we're related to in some way, shape, or form. Okay. So we got 2 10s here. We have 1 10. Out of curiosity, I just want to look at something. I want to see where the next 10 is. See how far I gotta go. Not far at all. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 cards later, we have a 10 of Wands. So this could be pretty foretelling. But I definitely like seeing the end of conflict. And the 10 of Wands is definitely about burdens. So, and the need to drop certain burdens and responsibilities, especially those that do not belong to us. Sometimes we take on other people's burdens because we want to help. But under that type of energy, that's the type of energy where we need to really prioritize and worry about our own issues, because there tends to be a lot of irons in the fire that we have ourselves, and taking on anything else and anybody else's issues is just too much to bear. So while you may want to help others and your heart's in the right spot, yeah, it's kind of like we need to put ourselves in our own responsibilities and our own priorities first. Okay, so Love Oracle cards. This will be for the Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising signs that are single. Chemistry. There's a strong magnetic attraction here. So for those of you who are single, some of you could be experiencing chemistry and this magnetic type of attraction with someone. And you could even be pondering the ideas and wondering, will this turn into something? Well, having that chemistry is definitely a good thing. Make the effort. Great love is worth taking the steps you're guided to take. So, yeah, it seems like the angels are saying, if you got that chemistry with someone, make that effort. And in general, if you really want to be in a relationship, then make the effort, put yourself out there. Especially if you have someone that, you're already interested in, but maybe you just sat back, waiting for them to make a move. Well, this could be definitely indicating that you need to make that move. Okay, forgiving and learning. As you release and heal the past, you experience more love in your present moments. Now, this is a card where it's time for us to emotionally detoxify, okay? This is where patterns can come up. Like we may be attracting the same types of situations, the same type of relationship experiences. It's just different people each time. So it's like a pattern has developed in regards to our relationships. And so this could actually make some of you feel like, you know what, I'm good on relationships because it's like I always attract the same type of person. They're just always, different person, but the situation's always in the same. So if there's a pattern like that that's taken place in regards to your relationships in your life, this card is showing up saying, look, we need to emotionally detoxify because we're carrying around these experiences. And when you program your brain like this, like we've been through it, so it's like this is what we just expect out of relationships. That's kind of like bad programming. And it also becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So this is where we need to really detoxify. We need to forgive ourselves first and foremost, okay? Forgive ourselves. And then we need to forgive the other people. Let go of the anger, the resentment, all of it. Let it go. I know some people don't necessarily deserve your forgiveness, but forgiveness is more for us than it is for the other party, okay? Because when we choose to forgive someone for something that they have done that was awful, it's not like a free pass to say, here, do it again. It's us saying, I'm letting this go. I'm not going to let this toxic emotions and thoughts and situation poison me anymore. I'm going to forgive so that I can clear you and have closure and clear you out of my energy. So you don't have to talk to these people. This can all be done, within. Just forgive them and let them go, This is about emotionally detoxifying so that we don't continue to attract those same people and that same exact pattern. Okay, yeah, this is going to be a long reading. All my readings have been long this month. I'm sorry. Okay, so these are for the Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising signs that are in relationships or married. Honeymoon. Enjoy the bliss of holiday time together. Okay, so this could actually indicate that for some of you, you might soon be getting married, or you could have just gotten married. For some of you that have been in relationships or married for a while, this card could be suggesting that maybe you need to take, a vacation with just you and your spouse or your significant other. And kind of like, honeymoon, but, just a vacation, so that you can have that time to reconnect with one another on a more intimate level. And also for some of you that are in some fairly new relationships, this could be indicating that you could be in a bit of a honeymoon phase where everything's great, new love, woo. And for some of you, this could be indicating that the honeymoon phase has now ended in your relationship. Worth waiting for. Divine timing is at work in your love life. Okay, so yeah, I feel like this is definitely more geared towards the people who are just in relationships. Maybe some of you are wondering, is this going to develop into more, or am I just wasting my time? Well, this card's definitely showing up and saying, hey, everything's going to happen when it's supposed to. We don't want to push for something to happen quicker. This is where we just need to, kind of let go and have faith that everything will happen when it's supposed to. So, if you're in a relationship and you're really wondering, am I going to get married to this person? This is definitely a card that's saying, look, it's worth waiting for, so just be patient. Allow things to unfold naturally rather than trying to force them. Because sometimes the more that we force it, this can create more tension than what we want, and this can actually destroy something good. So yeah, we don't want to push. And retreat. So this is very much like a honeymoon card as well. It is time to disconnect from the world. So again, some of you could be getting married and could be going on that honeymoon, which is a bit like that retreat. For some of you that especially have been in a relationship for a very long time or have been married for a very long time, this is definitely a card that's saying, you and your significant other, your spouse, you guys definitely need to take some time out from the world, Maybe go take a little holiday for the weekend. Turn all those phones and laptops and gadgets off, Take this time to basically disconnect from the rest of the world and just let it be about you two. So that you can reconnect and, strengthen your bond, your relationship, especially if you might be experiencing issues within a relationship. This might be very much needed, where you guys need to take some time to get away and to reconnect with each other. Ooh, ow. Okay. Deception. Someone is wearing a false self mask in this relationship. So this could either be you or it could be the other party in the relationship or marriage. Sometimes the deception can be something minor, such as not telling our significant other or our spouse how we really feel, because we may feel like it might hurt their feelings. And then this can range to outright horrible, huge deception, Sometimes the deception can be very deep. Sometimes it's very mild, but deception in any variety is really not good. So this is definitely a card of, it's time to be truthful. You want to, if you're the one that's wearing the false self mask, you need to be honest. Do what you want, but I'm just saying you should be honest with yourself and with your significant other, period. And if you can't do that, then maybe it's just not worth it. But to each his own. That's up to you guys. So, okay. Positive affirmation cards. The first one we get is the 5 of Earth. Alternative forms of abundance. The illusion of lack. Overlooked treasures. All is not as it seems. So this is a time to look again. A change in perception can bring into focus the results I sought, just in a different form than expected. I am called to move away from poverty consciousness and open my eyes to treasure before me that are suddenly illumined. The illusion of wealth gives way to true abundance. There is no need to fear that the rug will be pulled out from under me. What we draw attention to grows. I count my blessings and I realize I have far more than I thought. I have come far in my quest for building up what I need, and even more opportunities for experiencing abundance await. Ace of Earth. Prosperity in its purest form, concrete results in the physical world, and abundance made manifest. I recognize the many forms of abundance and plenty, and I align myself with success. I can generate gold from the resources I have at my fingertips. I make an impact. The essence of prosperity is taking form in the material world. Tongue-tied there. Oh, the Hierophant. Now this is going to be a good one, especially for those of you who are getting married. Hierophant, spiritual practice. When this card appears, it reminds me to be committed to a spiritual practice to ensure a conscious contact to my higher power. When I have a daily practice of prayer and meditation steeped in gratitude and committed to being a co-creator, life works out in wondrous ways. Rituals are also in my highest good at this time. Exchanging vows is also highlighted. Rituals could be as simple as saying some of these affirmations daily. And the more that we affirm these positive things, the more that we can attract and become the very things that we're affirming. Messenger of Earth. Hardworking, proceeding with integrity, perseverance, and grit, prudent and careful efforts, thoroughness, industriousness, stamina, dedication. I am in the flow, committed to co-creating with spirit effectively and efficiently. I do my best and never leave a job half done. I am dedicated and determined, knowing my efforts will pay off. Eight of Earth, which is also the Sun in Virgo card. Apprenticeship, gaining knowledge, learning, and employing a new craft or skill. Even masters of their craft have more to learn, and I eagerly embrace the opportunity to go deeper, develop a greater understanding, and find new ways to apply what I know. I acknowledge all I have learned and accomplished, the skills I have developed, and the goals I have reached. Now is the time to find new ways to apply what I know to enhance my expertise. And my beginner's awkwardness has melted away. And I know what I am doing now. I have the confidence to become more intimate with the work in all areas of my life. Okay. Well, I'd have to say that those were very much needed and very positive. I'm sorry this video ended up being way too long.